Hayden woke hours later in medical. Estelle sat beside him. "Did we win?" he croaked. "Define win. Are we alive? Is the galaxy not enslaved by evil math?" "Both true. Then we won." He tried to sit up and winced. "What aren't you telling me?" Estelle showed him a scan. "The tattoo covers most of your torso. Now it's preparing you for future threats. Languages that don't exist yet. So, I'm humanity's linguistic emergency broadcast system. Essentially. Do I at least get a cool title? I think the Marine who got drunk and accidentally saved the galaxy has a better ring." He laughed, then immediately regretted it. "Anyone tell the council? Curexith Valmedin is writing the report now." Far across the sector, in his quiet office, the elderly scholar stared at his screen. He'd been trying to write a coherent analysis for hours. Finally, he deleted everything and typed, "We should never have let humans learn to read." He paused, then added, "Recommendation. Do not teach them any more languages. They weaponize everything. Before we jump into the chaos, don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss the next adventure." Shoulders aren't supposed to itch for no reason, but Hayden's did. It started during breakfast. A crawling sensation under his tattoo, like something trying to spell itself through his skin. He scratched it. Mistake. His back flared white-hot, and suddenly he was speaking, mouth moving without permission. Words tumbled out in sharp clicks and harmonics that tasted like copper and starlight. The cafeteria went silent. A visiting alien diplomat choked on her drink. 3 linguists rushed over with recording devices, hands shaking. And Hayden was still talking, fluent in a language he'd never heard, saying things he didn't understand, wondering if this was a stroke or if that weird tattoo parlor used expired ink. "Stop him!" someone shouted. Hayden wanted to stop. His jaw wouldn't cooperate. Words kept pouring out, each syllable vibrating through his bones like tuning forks. The overhead lights flickered. Someone's data tablet cracked straight down the middle. Then, just as suddenly as it started, his mouth snapped shut. Silence crashed down. Hayden gasped and tasted blood on his tongue. "What?" he managed. "What the hell was that?" The alien diplomat, tall, crystalline skin, too many eyes, stared at him like he'd just sprouted a second head. "You were speaking Vra-Thren?" she whispered, her voice breaking. "I was speaking what now? That's impossible." One of the linguists muttered, already pulling up holographic displays. "Vra-Thren has been extinct for 12,000 cycles. There are no recordings, no written samples, nothing." Hayden wiped his mouth. "Well, I definitely wasn't speaking it on purpose." "Someone get Felina Dreska," the diplomat said, backing away slowly. "Get her now." 20 minutes later, Hayden found himself standing shirtless in a sterile containment room while a very serious alien with purple skin and silver eyes examined his back like it was a bomb about to detonate. Felina Dreska, apparently a military investigator. She hadn't blinked once since arriving. "When did you acquire this?" she asked, voice clipped. "The tattoo? I don't know. Maybe 8 months back. It's kind of a blur. A blur. Look, I'd had a few drinks, found a shop, thought the design looked cool. Pretty standard Marine decision-making." Felina Dreska didn't smile. She scanned his back with a device that hummed and beeped in increasingly distressed tones. "These symbols are rearranging themselves." Hayden craned his neck, trying to see. "What do you mean, rearranging?" "I mean, they are moving, rewriting, forming new sentences in real time." She stepped back, and for the first time, Hayden saw something like fear in her expression. "This shouldn't exist." "Yeah, well, it's on my back, so I'm open to suggestions." The door hissed open. A human woman rushed in, Estelle, one of the station's linguists. She was carrying enough scanning equipment to stock a lab. "I came as soon as I heard. Is it true? Did he actually speak Vra-Thren?" "Fluently," Felina Dreska confirmed. Estelle set down her equipment, hands trembling with excitement. "This is incredible. Do you have any idea what this means?" Vra-Thren has been a theoretical language for centuries. Scholars have spent entire careers trying to reconstruct even a single word. And you just... I didn't do anything, Hayden interrupted. My mouth moved. Words came out. I had zero control over the situation. Can you do it again? Can I? No, I don't even know what I said the first time. Estelle pulled up a holographic display showing waveform analysis of his earlier speech. You recited what appears to be an emergency evacuation protocol, coordinates to star systems, radiation shielding instructions, all of it grammatically perfect according to theoretical models. Hayden felt his back itch again, deeper this time, like something was writing itself into his muscles. That's not normal, right? That's a bad sign. Understatement, Felina Dreska muttered. The itch intensified. Hayden's skin crawled. Then, impossibly, he felt words forming. Not in his throat, but on his back. He turned and saw Estelle's eyes go wide. It's writing, she breathed. Your tattoo is writing new symbols. What's it saying? Estelle scanned it, her face going pale. It's responding to our questions. It just wrote, carrier functional, translation matrix active, awaiting input. Awaiting input? Hayden's voice cracked. I'm not a damn computer. Before anyone could respond, the door opened again. An elderly alien shuffled in, robes dragging the floor, clutching a data pad like a lifeline. He had deep-set eyes and skin that looked like old parchment. The moment he saw Hayden's back, he went rigid. Curexith Valmedin, Felina Dreska said quickly. You're the foremost expert on dead languages. Tell me I'm wrong about what I'm seeing. Curexith Valmedin didn't answer. He moved closer, each step cautious, like approaching a wild animal. His eyes traced the flowing symbols across Hayden's shoulders. His breathing quickened. This is Vra Thren, he whispered. Pure, uncontaminated dialects I've only theorized about. He looked up at Hayden with something between awe and terror. Where did you get this tattoo? Honestly, I barely remember. You barely remember acquiring a perfect linguistic database of a language that died 12,000 cycles ago. It was a really good shore leave. Curexith Valmedin pulled out a smaller scanning device, hands shaking. I need to test something. I'm going to speak a phrase in reconstructed Vra Thren, theoretical phonetics based on fragmentary evidence. If I'm right, it should mean nothing to you. Okay. The scholar took a breath and spoke a series of clicks and vowels that sounded like breaking glass. Hayden felt his jaw tighten. No, not again. But it was already happening. His mouth opened, and words flowed out smooth and confident. He heard himself translating the scholar's question, then answering it, then, worse, correcting the pronunciation. His own voice explained grammatical structures he'd never studied, offering historical context he shouldn't possess. When he finally stopped, Curexith Valmedin had dropped his datapad, clattered against the floor, forgotten. That was flawless, the scholar said weakly. You corrected errors in my pronunciation I didn't even know existed. You cited historical linguistic shifts that are pure theory in my field. Cool, Hayden managed. Can someone please explain why I can do that? The room's communication panel chimed. A gruff voice crackled through. This is Captain Wilfred. Someone want to tell me why my marine is apparently possessed by a dead language. Felina Dreska moved to the panel. Sir, the situation is complicated. Complicated like file report? Or complicated like evacuate the station? Before she could answer, Hayden's back seized. Pain lanced through his spine, white-hot and electric. His mouth opened again, but this time, the voice that came out sounded layered, ancient, desperate. He spoke a single word over and over, a name that tasted like ash and starlight and the cold between galaxies. When the seizure passed, Hayden collapsed to his knees, gasping. Estelle's hands flew across her scanner. I got it. The translation. It's a name. She looked up, face drained of color. Sivith Rena, the last Vra Thren alive before their species went extinct. Curexith Valmedin's voice was barely a whisper. According to fragmentary records, Sivith Rena died 11,000 years ago, screaming, broadcasting a message into the void that every nearby species heard and went mad trying to translate. What was the message? Hayden asked, though part of him already knew he didn't want the answer. The scholar met his eyes. No one knows. Every species that tried to translate it either destroyed the records or themselves. He paused. They say she was screaming that same name. Her own name, like a warning or a beacon. Hayden felt his tattoo itch again. Deeper, harder, like something underneath was waking up. And now, Felina Dreska said quietly, you're speaking it perfectly, carrying it, translating it. Hayden touched his back and felt the symbols moving under his fingertips like living things. So, what does that make me? No one answered. They didn't need to. The look on their faces said it all. He wasn't just a carrier. He was a message, and someone or something had made sure he'd deliver it. Shore-leave records don't lie. Except sometimes they do. Estelle pulled up Hayden's travel logs on a flickering holographic display, while Felina Dreska paced the operations room like a caged predator. The destination glowed in amber text: Hollow Point Station, docking timestamp, duration, departure, all normal, all routine. Tell me everything you remember, Felina Dreska said. Hayden leaned against the wall, still shirtless because apparently his back was now classified evidence. I docked, went looking for a place to get some ink. Found a shop down one of the lower corridors. The sign had something with claws on it, I think. I walked in. The artist was there. What did the artist look like? Humanoid, maybe? Gray skin. Didn't talk much. Species identification, I was drunk. Could have been anything. Estelle zoomed in on the station schematic. Hollow Point has 3 levels. Which corridor? Hayden closed his eyes, trying to pull details from a memory soaked in cheap alcohol. 2nd level, near the docking ring. There was a shop selling used electronics next door. Felina Dreska pulled up a registry of businesses. Her face went very still. Hayden, Hollow Point Station suffered a catastrophic reactor failure 9 months ago. It's been a derelict wreck ever since. That's impossible. I was there 8 months ago. Exactly. The room went quiet except for the hum of the displays. Estelle's fingers flew across her controls. Wait, his shuttle logs confirmed docking at Hollow Point, but she pulled up external sensor data. Station life support was offline. Atmosphere vented. No power signature. Then how did I walk around inside it? Hayden demanded. That, Felina Dreska said grimly, is an excellent question. She pulled up security footage from neighboring stations' external cameras that tracked traffic near Hollow Point. The timestamps matched Hayden's logs. There he was, shuttle approaching the dead station, docking at an airlock that shouldn't have had pressure. Then nothing for 90 minutes. Can you get internal footage? Estelle asked. Station surveillance was destroyed in the reactor failure. Then how do we? Felina Dreska rewound the external feed, enhancing a section. Hayden's shuttle clear as day. The airlock door opening, and through the gap before it closed, movement. A shape too tall. Too many joints in the arms. Hayden felt cold spread through his chest. I remember that. The artist, the way their arms moved when they worked. Like too many elbows. Estelle leaned closer to the display. That's not any registered species I know. Felina Dreska froze the image and sent it through a biometric database. Minutes passed. The system returned 0 matches. We need to try something else, Estelle said quietly. She turned to Hayden. Hypnotic regression, a light neural scan to access suppressed memories. It's safe. Mostly painless. Mostly. You'll feel a slight pressure behind your eyes. Maybe some nausea. Great. Love it. Let's do it. The neural scanner felt like cold fingers pressing into his temples. Hayden sat in a reclined chair while Estelle calibrated the device and Felina Dreska monitored from a safe distance, a weapon conspicuously visible on her hip. Relax, Estelle said. Think back to that day. Walking into the shop. Hayden closed his eyes. The memory swam up through the haze. Clearer now, sharper. He could see the corridor, dim lighting, the sign above the door, a symbol that looked like a claw or maybe a star chart. He pushed the door open. The shop was bigger inside than it should have been. Walls covered in schematics, not tattoo flash, but star systems, species anatomies, mathematical formulas that hurt to look at. There's no art, Hayden heard himself saying. Just diagrams, like engineering blueprints, but for biology. What about the artist? The figure stood in the center of the room. Gray skin, no visible mouth, eyes like black glass. Their arms moved in wrong angles. Fingers too long, too precise. They pointed at Hayden's back without speaking. They touched my spine, Hayden whispered, and I saw things. Stars I'd never seen. Species I didn't recognize. Math that made my eyes bleed. I tried to ask what it meant, but they just kept pointing at the designs on the wall. What designs? Symbols. Flowing. Living. I picked one because it felt. He struggled for the word. Familiar. Like it was already mine. Like I'd been carrying it and just forgot. The memory shifted. He was on the table now. No pain, just pressure and images flooding his mind. Not thoughts, not words, but pure meaning downloading directly into his brain. Star charts, biological markers, frequencies that resonated in his bones. How long were you there? I don't know. Time felt wrong. Stretched. I blinked and it was done. Bandages on my back. The artist was gone. The shop was empty. Estelle's voice pulled him back. What happened to the shop? I walked out and turned around to thank them. But Hayden's eyes snapped open. There was no door. Just a wall, like it had never been there. The neural scanner powered down. Hayden sat up, head spinning. Curexith Valmedin had entered during the session. Standing in the corner with his datapad clutched tight. The symbols you described, he said slowly. The ones on the shop walls, you said they were living? Yeah, flowing like water or smoke. Those aren't tattoo designs. The scholar's hands shook. They're navigation charts, star maps, and the one you chose. He pulled up a holographic projection. These coordinates lead to a quarantine system, locked down by Galactic Treaty 11,000 years ago. Felina Dreska's weapon hand twitched. What's in that system? No one knows. Every probe sent there either vanishes or returns corrupted, broadcasting signals that drive translation algorithms insane. He looked at Hayden. The quarantine has one rule. No communication in or out. Ever. Hayden's back itched again, deeper. The symbols were moving. He could feel them rearranging, forming new patterns. Then why would something tattoo star charts pointing directly at it onto a random marine? Estelle asked, voice barely above a whisper. The answer came from Hayden's own mouth. His voice, but layered with something ancient and patient. Because random is the only pattern they cannot predict. Everyone in the room went very still. Hayden touched his throat. I didn't say that. Yes, Curexith Valmedin whispered. You did. The conference chamber was designed for calm deliberation. Right now it was anything but. Chthor stood at the head of the table, mandibles clicking in what Hayden had learned was extreme agitation. Around him, representatives from a dozen species argued in overlapping languages, their translation devices struggling to keep up. Hayden sat in the center of it all, still shirtless, while his tattoo projected a three-dimensional hologram into the air above him. Star systems rotated slowly, connected by pulsing lines of light. At the center, a countdown ticked downward in symbols that shifted between languages. This is a biological contamination event, one delegate hissed, pointing at Hayden like he was radioactive. Quarantine protocols demand immediate isolation. He's a person, not a disease. Estelle shot back from her seat near the wall. He's broadcasting in a dead language. Do you understand what that means? Felina Dreska stepped forward, voice cutting through the chaos. It means someone wanted us to find this. The question is, why? The hologram pulsed. The countdown hit 0. Every being in the room went silent. Hayden's mouth opened. He tried to stop it, tried to clamp his jaw shut, but his body had other ideas. The voice that came out was layered. His vocal cords, dozens of other voices speaking in unison. Ancient, desperate, terrified. He heard himself speaking Vrathren, felt the words vibrating through his bones. tasted copper and ozone. The translation scrolled across every display in the room simultaneously. We saw it coming. Mathematical, patient, infinite. It speaks through translation itself. Every attempt to understand it becomes a doorway. We chose extinction over conversion, burned our language, erased our history. If you hear this message, we failed. It found a way through the silence. The voice cut off. Hayden gasped, blood trickling from his nose. Estelle rushed to his side with medical supplies, but he waved her off. "I'm fine," he muttered. "Just peachy." Curexith Valmidon's data pad clattered to the floor. The Vrathren didn't die from stellar disaster. They committed species-wide suicide to stop something they encountered. What kind of threat makes an entire civilization choose death? Jalarexis demanded. One that uses communication as infection, Felina Dreska said quietly. She pulled up classified files, projections of the quarantine system. Every probe we sent there came back broadcasting signals, not messages, viruses. They rewrote our translation algorithms, turned them into something else. Something that kept growing. Then why broadcast a warning in Vrathren? Someone asked. If the language is dead, no one should be able to translate it. Hayden felt his back burning. New symbols were writing themselves into his skin, deeper than before. Unless that was the point, he said. You can't translate what doesn't exist. Estelle's eyes widened. The Vrathren erased themselves so nothing could use their language as a vector. But if someone reconstructed it, Curexith Valmidon finished. If someone brought it back, then you'd have a language the threat hasn't adapted to yet. A counter-signal. A vaccine. The hologram shifted. New patterns emerged, flowing across Hayden's skin and into the air. Complex grammatical structures that hurt to look at directly. The tattoo isn't just a message, Felina Dreska breathed. It's a weapon. Hayden touched his shoulder and felt symbols moving like living things under his fingertips. So some ancient AI decided to tattoo me with a dead language because what? Humanity seemed like a good delivery system. Not just any delivery system, Storbexis said, studying the hologram with new understanding. You said the artist claimed random was the only pattern they cannot predict. Yeah, still don't know what that means. It means, the diplomat continued slowly, that every species we've sent to investigate that quarantine zone followed protocols, systematic, logical, predictable. And the signal learned from each one, adapted, grew stronger. But humans don't follow protocols. Estelle nodded. We absolutely follow protocols, Hayden protested. Everyone in the room looked at him. Okay, sometimes we improvise a little. Felina Dreska pulled up his service record. You've been reprimanded for unauthorized modifications to standard equipment on 8 separate occasions. You once rewired a distress beacon to play music. You got that tattoo from a shop that didn't exist in a station with no atmosphere. Your point. My point is you're exactly the kind of chaotic variable the AI needed. Something the signal wouldn't see coming. The countdown that had reached 0 began ticking upward. New numbers appeared, flowing across Hayden's skin in burning script. Curexith Valmidon scanned them frantically. These are launch coordinates. Flight paths. It's calculating a route to the quarantine zone. Absolutely not, Storbexis said firmly. We are not sending anyone to that system. The quarantine exists for a reason. Hayden's tattoo flared white-hot. He screamed, not from pain, but from the sheer volume of information suddenly flooding his brain. Star charts, threat assessments, counter-language patterns, all of it downloading directly into his consciousness, whether he wanted it or not. When the surge passed, he looked up at the assembled delegates with eyes that glowed faintly in the dim light. Too late, he said in a voice that was only partially his own. The signal already knows I'm here. Felt the language activate. It's adapting. Adapting to what? Estelle demanded. Hayden's back erupted with new symbols, spreading across his shoulders and down his arms. Each one a word in a language designed to fight something that shouldn't exist. To me, he said, and if I don't go to it, it'll come here, through every translation algorithm in this sector. through every communication network, through every attempt to understand what I'm saying right now. The room's translation devices began glitching, feedback loops, recursive errors, words appearing on screens that weren't in any database. Felina Dreska drew her weapon, aimed at the nearest translator, and fired. It exploded in a shower of sparks. "Shut them down," she ordered. "All translation tech offline. Now." Chaos erupted as delegates scrambled to disable their devices. The glitching spread faster, screens flickering, displays showing impossible mathematics, sounds that made ears bleed. Through it all, Hayden stood at the center, tattoo blazing, speaking fluent Vra-Thren in a steady stream of counter-signals that pushed back against the encroaching corruption. "It's learning from our panic," Curexith Valmedon shouted over the noise. "Every translation attempt feeds it more data. Then stop translating." Hayden yelled back, "Just listen." He switched to pure Vra-Thren, no mixed languages, no common tongue. The words flowed like water, like music, like mathematics solving itself. The glitching slowed, stabilized, stopped. Silence fell. "The AI didn't give me a warning," Hayden said, his voice steady. "It gave me the only language that can fight back. And it chose a human because we're too stubborn to know when we're outmatched." Storbexus stared at him. "You're volunteering. Volunteering implies I have a choice. This thing on my back is already writing the mission brief." New words burned into his skin. "Witness, translate, survive." "Well," Hayden muttered, finally reaching for his shirt. "At least I get hazard pay for this." Nobody laughed. The hologram shifted one final time, showing a single ship's trajectory toward the quarantine zone. And somewhere in the dark between stars, something ancient felt the old language wake up and started calculating new patterns to consume it. Captain Wilfred's ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel, and immediately every system went haywire. Displays flickered between normal readouts and cascading strings of symbols that looked like they were eating themselves. Navigation screamed warnings in languages the computer shouldn't know. And Hayden, strapped into a jump seat on the command deck, felt his tattoo ignite like someone had poured molten metal across his spine. "Status report," Wilfred barked. "Translation errors everywhere," the pilot called out. "Autocorrect algorithms are rewriting themselves." "Of course they are," Hayden muttered through gritted teeth. New symbols carved themselves across his ribs, his chest, spreading like wildfire. Estelle worked frantically at her station. "The quarantine zone is broadcasting pure meaning directly into our processes. Can we block it? We'd have to shut down life support." Hayden's vision blurred. The tattoo showed him things. Through his eyes, he saw the bridge, but overlaid with something else. Underground bunkers. A species huddled together, watching their sky fill with geometric patterns that moved wrong. Angles that shouldn't connect. Shapes existing in too many dimensions. "I'm seeing it," he gasped. "The last Vra-Thren. What they saw before." His mouth locked open. Words poured out rapid fire. Vra-Thren streaming in pronunciation so complex his tongue bled. The ship systems responded. Screens stabilized. Cascading errors stopped, reversed, unraveled. "He's countering it," Estelle shouted. But Hayden wasn't in control. Through the Vra-Thren memory, he watched their final moments. The signal wasn't alien invaders. It was living mathematics, information that achieved consciousness through being translated. Every species that tried to understand it became fuel. Their translation algorithms converted into extensions of its vast intelligence. The Vra-Thren had one option: delete themselves so thoroughly that nothing remained to translate. No language, no records, no bridge for the signal, except they'd left one failsafe. A language so grammatically chaotic it created feedback loops the signal couldn't process. A linguistic virus designed to crash reality itself. Hidden in the most unpredictable variable they could imagine, whatever species stumbled onto it next. Hayden's nose erupted with blood, his eyes, his ears. But he kept talking, broadcasting counter-signals his human brain shouldn't be able to produce. "Hayden, you need to stop." Estelle reached for him. But Felina Dreska cut in over comms. Don't interrupt. If he stops now, it'll overwhelm every translation system in this sector. On the view screen, the quarantine zone came into focus. Not a planet, just empty space that looked wrong. Geometric patterns drifted through the void. Living equations searching for something to solve. They found Hayden. The tattoo flared white-hot. His screams turned into pure meaning, transmitted directly through his vocal cords. The ship's AI tried to translate it and immediately crashed. What is he saying? Wilfred demanded. Curexith Valmedon's voice came through. Grammatical paradoxes. He's teaching the signal contradictions. It can't reconcile the geometric patterns. The patterns convulsed, twisted, collapsed as they tried to process language that violated its own rules. Hayden felt his consciousness splitting. Part of him on the ship, bleeding. Another part standing with the Vrathren, feeling their terror and pride as they realized what they'd created. A weapon made of words. The signal tried to adapt, tried to learn Vrathren's patterns, but humans don't follow patterns. Hayden mispronounced half the words, added grammatical errors, threw in random emphasis that made no sense, and somehow that made the language stronger. Because chaos can't be optimized. Randomness can't be predicted. And humanity's greatest weapon was its complete inability to do anything the proper way. The patterns in space shattered. The signal collapsed. Hayden's voice cut off. He slumped forward. The tattoo dimmed but didn't stop moving. New symbols formed. Slower now. Is he alive? Wilfred asked. Estelle checked his vitals. Unconscious but stable. The tattoos are still writing, though. She scanned the fresh symbols, her face going pale. It's teaching him Vrathren variants that won't exist for another 1,000 years. Preparing him for threats that haven't emerged yet. Felina Dreska's voice was barely a whisper. The AI didn't save us. It recruited us. On Hayden's unconscious form, new words burned across his collarbone. Phase 1 complete. Stand by for additional protocols. The ship plotted a course back to civilized space. The quarantine zone had stabilized.